Hi, it's me, the long-nosed god. The island of Rapa Nui, or Easter Island, is one of the most isolated pieces of land in the world. It lies some 3,500 kilometers from the coast of Chile, its nearest neighbor, and over 1,000 kilometers from the next inhabited island. For centuries, the only inhabitants of this lonely speck of earth were the indigenous people called the Rapa Nui and an estimated 8 million seabirds. In the early 18th century, when European sailors first arrived, they found these guys and their giant stone heads called moai. According to legend, each moai monolith was a physical representation of the islanders' ancestors who had returned from the underworld to watch over them. Over time, the Rapa Nui built nearly 1,000 of these statues on ceremonial platforms called ahu, aligning many of them with astronomical phenomena such as the equinoxes. But that's not all they built. Archaeologists have discovered evidence of at least 500 settlements across the island, including large communal houses with flat roofs and thick walls made of red tufts. These structures suggest that the Rapa Nui people lived in relative peace and harmony, unlike other cultures in Polynesia, where society was typically divided into warring tribes. So how did they build so many giant statues and complex buildings without descending into chaos? How could they organize such large-scale projects without a central government or even a written language? And what happened to them? Today, less than 6,000 people live on the island, making it one of the least densely populated places on Earth. So where are they now? And what happened to the advanced civilization that created them? What if I told you there's a lost secret hiding beneath the moai? A secret that could change everything we know about Easter Island forever. And what if I also told you we may have already found it? It all started back in 2012 when researchers used ground-penetrating radar to scan one of the famous moai. They wanted to see if there was anything hollow inside the statue, but they never expected what they found. Their scans revealed a whole dugout from the base of the moai and leading up to its chest. Some thought this could be evidence of a hidden burial chamber, where the remains of a powerful chieftain might have been laid to rest. Others suggested that the tunnel could have been used for ritualistic purposes, perhaps as a passageway between the living and the dead. But then something strange happened. As the team continued their investigation, they discovered more and more tunnels and chambers carved beneath the moai. In total, they identified 7 subterranean structures surrounding the statue, connected by a network of narrow passages. One chamber was filled with offerings such as human bones, stone tools, and ornaments made of red bone fragments, suggesting a sacred space used for ceremonies. But this was only the beginning. In 2017, scientists announced another groundbreaking discovery. Using LiDAR scanning technology, they had mapped the entire island at a resolution of 25 centimeters per pixel. This revealed hundreds of new sites, including 300 previously unknown structures. One of the most exciting finds was an extensive network of roads connecting all parts of the island. These pathways were remarkably straight, suggesting advanced engineering and surveying techniques. But who would have built such a sophisticated transportation system, and for what purpose? To understand what was happening on Easter Island, we need to take a journey back in time before the days of the moai, and long before Europeans ever set foot on the island. Around 1200 AD, settlers from the kingdom of Rapa Nui established a colony here. They brought with them chickens, pigs, and rats, as well as sweet potatoes and bananas. But these settlers soon realized they were on a very dry island with little rainfall and sandy soil that couldn't support crops, so they were forced to rely on seafood. Luckily, the waters around the island teemed with fish and sea mammals such as turtles, seals, and whales. The settlers learned to fish using hooks made of bone and nets woven from the tough fibers of the pandanus plant. They hunted seals and turtles with spears and caught whales using harpoons. These techniques allowed them to gather enough food for their settlements. But it wasn't just about food. The island's resources also played a vital role in shaping its history. Archaeologists believe that the abundance of red tuff, a type of volcanic rock, inspired the Rapa Nui to recreate their iconic moai statues. Red tuff was easy to work with and lent itself to the detailed carvings needed to capture the likeness of each individual moai. In fact, studies have shown that each moai took only about 4 months to carve, thanks to the soft rock. However, this abundance of red tuff may have contributed to the downfall of the Rapa Nui. You see, the island also had a lot of trees, specifically the roro palm, whose wood was incredibly strong and resistant to erosion. This made it ideal for building boats and houses. But the wood was so tough that it took years for tools to make a dent in it, and this required a lot of effort. As time went on, the Rapa Nui began to exhaust their supply of trees. leading to deforestation and soil erosion. Without trees, their houses collapsed, their boats couldn't venture out to sea, and their ability to gather resources and defend themselves was compromised. To make matters worse, their environment changed, causing famine and disease. So where did they go? Some believe that when things got too tough, the Rapa Nui fled to the mainland, where their descendants still live today. Others suggest that they simply disappeared, their fate unknown. And what about the Moai? Who exactly were they trying to honor with all those statues? And what secrets do they hold? Well, recent research has uncovered fascinating details about the Moai, shedding light on their origins. It turns out that the Moai were not just ordinary statues. Each one represented a deified ancestor known as a Panjang. These Panjang were not gods in the traditional sense, but rather spiritual beings believed to inhabit the island. They were seen as guardians of the community and sources of strength and wisdom. But here's where things get interesting. The longest Moai on the island also happens to be the strangest, known as the Moai Tukuturi. It's almost 10 meters tall and weighs an estimated 16 tons. The statue has a long, thin face with almond-shaped eyes and a distinctive feature, a long nose that resembles the beak of a bird. Some scholars believe that the elongated skull, a bird-like nose, represents an ancient Polynesian god associated with fishing and navigation. Could this mysterious Moai have been a tribute to a deity worshipped by the Rapa Nui? Or could it depict a real historical figure with unique physical traits? Perhaps a person with a bird-like nose could have been an ancestor of the Rapani, or even a foreigner who visited the island long ago. If you're wondering why it looks like it has bird wings, it doesn't. They're actually deep scars caused by a landslide that hit the statue centuries ago. And speaking of age, archaeologists have determined that the Moai were created between 1400 and 1650 AD, which means they were built during the last days of the Rapa Nui civilization. Why would they have created such massive statues at this point in history? Were they trying to impress future generations, or perhaps preserve their culture for posterity? Most importantly, who made them? Some believe that the Moai were crafted by slaves forced to work on the enormous statues against their will, but others think they were built by volunteers who saw the project as a religious duty. After all, creating a Moai was a communal effort involving skilled sculptors, but also ordinary people from the community. Regardless of who made them, the Moai are a testament to the ingenuity and creativity of the Rapa Nui people. They remain an enduring symbol of this isolated civilization, captivating the imaginations of people around the world. Now, while exploring the island, scientists noticed that the Moai seemed to stare inland towards the settlements. At first, they assumed that this was just a coincidence, but as they studied further, they realized that many of the statues were aligned with important landmarks, such as freshwater sources or sacred sites. Could this be evidence of a sophisticated understanding of astronomy and land navigation? Or were the Moai placed deliberately to watch over and protect the people of Rapa Nui? All these unanswered questions leave us with more mysteries than answers. But one thing is certain, Rapa Nui was once home to a thriving civilization of seafarers, astronomers, and master craftsmen. And now it's up to us to piece together the fragments of their story, uncover their secrets, and learn from their mistakes. Because the truth is that the Rapa Nui weren't the first to suffer the consequences of environmental damage. We humans have been doing that for thousands of years. And if we don't learn from our past, we may be doomed to repeat it. If you enjoyed this episode, please share your thoughts below and stay tuned for more. See you next time.